Real glad Solely here. Going to do a quick review of a tobacco. I mentioned on my last couple of videos that I've been smoking the Sutliff Elizabethan match. Now, I did a little bit of research and found out that there are essentially three versions of Elizabethan that have hit the market, been on the market at some point in the past, and the first one was made by Murray's. The second one, which is the one that most people are aware of, was made by Dunhill, and the most recent one is the Sutliff version. Now, the Sutliff version is not intended to be a match, it's my understanding. It's not intended to be a match of the Dunhill version. It's intended to match the Murray's version, which I presume a lot of folks haven't had unless you've been smoking a pipe for quite a while. So the good news is I have had neither the Murray's version or the Dunhill version. So my review of this tobacco is basically a review of Elizabethan match on its own 2 feet, because I don't have anything to compare it to. So the appearance, I'll put a picture up here of the appearance. It seems to be kind of a rough cut, almost a shag, or a heavy ribbon. It packs real easily. It comes out of the bag, and I bought this in bulk. I bought an 8-ounce bag. It comes out of the bag a little on the moist side, but not real moist. So it only takes probably 15 minutes or so to get to the moisture level that I like to smoke. I like it a little bit on the drier side. I find that and I have smoked it right out of the bag, that it tends to bite a little bit because of the moisture. But as long as you let it sit for 10-15 minutes or so on a bowl, or just dry the whole bag at once, it has a pretty good moisture content to it. The bag aroma, and in my case I put it in a jar, so it's a jar aroma. I'd say it's got kind of a deep mustiness to it, and I know that sounds maybe a little weird, but it reminds me of something old. It's got a little bit of a sweetness to it, a very slight vinegar. I've recently been smoking, Sutliff's 515 RC1, and it's got a very forward vinegar ketchup type smell to it. This one, that smell is present, but very light. You almost have to look for it, but it's definitely there. It's got a light plum, but more, I guess, the way I like to describe it is if you peel a plum, I don't know why you do that, but if you peel a plum and just ate the pulp on the inside, then you would have kind of a different flavor, but the skin adds a little bit of bitterness to it. The plum that I get out of the Aroma is just the pulp. There's no bitterness to it. You don't get that kind of a bitey smell. You just get the pulp part. There is just a hint of pepper, and as you can see in the picture that I showed, the Perique flakes are a little on the bigger side, so I think that kind of lends to, and I'll get to that in the actual smoke aspects of it, but I think it lends to that pepper smell right out of the jar, because it's kind of concentrated a little bit. And the vinegar in the smell, the vinegar and the plum that I mentioned, they play very nicely together. And I know this is going to sound weird, but they together almost remind me of kind of a lemon scent. Not in a bad way. I don't think I'd be a fan of a lemon scented tobacco, because I feel like I'd be cleaning my pipe instead of smoking it. But it's just almost a remnant of a lemon scent to it. So on the char light, it has like an immediate upfront, almost potpourri kind of flavor to it. I'm not a huge fan of potpourri. Those tend to have a little bit of a cinnamon smell to them, and I'm not a fan of the candied cinnamon smell. but this potpourri is absent cinnamon, but it's definitely kind of a floral flavor right when you first light it. I assume that's from the casing. This tobacco is definitely cased, as I mentioned in my video yesterday. That doesn't necessarily bother me. Casings are good as long as they complement the flavor, and in this case it seems to complement the flavor of the Periques and maybe tone down the Perique a little bit, but they play well with the Virginias as well. So the first half of the bowl, you get mostly the sweetness of the Virginia. I just lit a bowl, so I'm smoking the first half right now. The casing is present up front, but it seems to kind of dissipate and almost take a back seat during the first half. It's still there, but the way I like to think about it is it doesn't necessarily take a back seat. Like, you don't notice it's there, but it seems to meld really well with the flavor. The Virginias are pretty deep, and you get a little bit of that kind of the dark fruit. I know that's cliche. You get a little bit of the dark fruit, but it's not an overpowering dark. And the first half is really for me, between hay and a citrus. And maybe the lemon that I noticed before is kind of the citrus of the Virginias, but it doesn't really lean one way or another for me. It's not an overpowering hay, it's not an overpowering citrus, it's like right in the middle, which I actually find fairly pleasant and almost unique, so to speak, for a Perique. The second half of the bowl, the pepper from the Perique tends to climb, but it's not a spicy pepper. So, one of the things I like about Perique is there's almost that Tabasco kind of a spice. This one doesn't really seem to have that as much as it has the pepper notes, which I'm going to go back to that lemon again and the floral part, but I think the pepper and that lemonish, I don't even know if that's a word, but that lemony kind of flavor, they play really well together. If you've ever had like a lemon peppered chicken, that flavor, not the chicken, but just the lemon and pepper together, that's what the second half of this bowl really kind of tastes like to me. The symmetry between all of those flavors, the Virginias, the pepper, the lemon, the citrus, all of those things just kind of play really well. And the thing I like about this tobacco so far is that it's very balanced, right? If you almost have to go looking for the flavors, but all together they play very nicely together, and it seems to be a pretty good tobacco. So my conclusion on this tobacco is, while it's probably not going to replace my Bayou Morning, I do actually think it might be a little more flavorful and complex than Bayou Morning is from Cornell and Deal. So it's not going to replace it, but I do think it's probably going to make its way into rotation pretty heavily. Like I said, I got 8 ounces of this, so I have quite a bit to play with. And of course, in the back of my mind, because y'all know I like to experiment, I'm actually kind of wondering if this might be a good candidate to age, although, or even stove. Although I'm a little worried, because I got to tell you, I like this one right out of the bag. I'm a little worried that will maybe upset the apple cart, so to speak, in terms of the balance that I find that this tobacco has, and that balance is kind of what's pulling me towards it on a regular basis. So all in all, Sutliff, I think you've done a great job on this tobacco. I would highly recommend it if you like Virginia Periques and you like very balanced tobaccos. I think this one's pretty good. So that's all I got for today. I just wanted to do a quick review since I mentioned that I've been smoking this tobacco quite a bit. I've had several bowls I've smoked, from the looks of it, probably about an ounce in the last couple of days. So I thought it might benefit y'all to give you my 2 cents on it. So that is all I have on this fine Wednesday. I got to get back to work. Just had lunch, and it's time to get back to the grind. So with that, I am Roglide Soli. Keep the road, keep the road, keep the rubber side down.